Services. We have Beth Azurif and Cheryl Lapel-Huber joining us. Instructions on how to pin their video can be found in the chat. For those utilizing closed captioning and cart services, a link will also be provided in the chat. Thank you.
My name is Joseph Puma. I use he, him pronouns. And as the most senior CCRB board member, I will be leading today's meeting. I would like to call the October meeting of the Civilian Complaint Review Board to order. Thank you for joining us. Will the board please introduce themselves now, starting on my left?
I'm mayoral appointee.
Good afternoon, Pat Smith, mayoral appointee.
Good afternoon, Charlene Brown-Wyans, Police Commissioner Designee.
Good afternoon. My name's John Darsh. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the Executive Director of the agency.
Good afternoon, Frank Dwyer. I'm a police commissioner designee.
Good afternoon, Joe Fox. I'm a police commissioner designee.
Turning now to board members joining us online.
Mr. Merritt was able to log on yet.
Okay,
They'll give us the high sign and we'll ask him to introduce himself later.
sounds good. Thank you all. Seeing as we don't have a quorum today, we will push the approval of the September minutes to next month. We'll now hear from Executive Director Jonathan Darsh. John.
Thank you, Mr. Puma. I'd like to start off by wishing everyone a happy Hispanic Heritage Month and thanking the CCRB Latinx Affinity Group for their efforts to commemorate this month by hosting an event tomorrow in the office. Staff continue to analyze the data on civilian criminal histories, NYPD case retention, and cases that are closed by the NYPD due to their proximity to the statute of limitations. I will have an update on those inquiries soon. Our office is open for walk-in complaints, but it is also possible to file complaints online at nyc.gov/CCRB-COMPLAINT. It's good that I can spell complaint. By telephone at 1-800-341-2272, by just dialing 311, or by tagging the agency on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. For those wishing to speak during the public comment section of today's meeting, we ask you to keep your questions and comments to 4 minutes. If anyone wishes to file a complaint right now, we have 2 investigators on hand ready to take new complaints, Emma Steidehar and Rob Bryan. Does that mean Herman is on? Excellent. As well as Ruth Villafane from our Civilian Assistance Unit. Mr. Merritt, if you could introduce yourself.
Herman Merritt, City Council designee from Brooklyn.
Thank you, Mr. Merritt. I'm now going to ask Jahai Rose to give a brief outreach presentation.
Good evening. As mentioned, my name is Jahai Rose. I'm the Director of Outreach for the New York City Civilian Complaint Review Board, and we'll be providing some brief details about the agency. The New York City Civilian Complaint Review Board is the largest independent oversight entity over the largest police force in the nation. The CCRB investigates, mediates, and prosecutes complaints of misconduct against members of the New York City Police Department. The agency is governed by a 15-member board. 5 seats are appointed by the New York City Mayor, 5 are appointed by the New York City Council, 3 designated by the New York City Police Commissioner, and 1 is appointed by the Public Advocate. The chair is jointly appointed by the mayor and the city council. The agency accepts and investigates complaints about force, abuse of authority, discourtesy, and offensive language. There are various ways to file complaints about police misconduct. The easiest way would be to go to our agency's website at nyc.gov/CCRB complaint, as previously mentioned. You could also feel free to call the CCRB's hotline at 1-800-341-CCRB or 1-800-341-2272. Remember, if you see footage of police misconduct on social media or in news media, feel free to file a complaint, even if you were not there in person. The typical handle for the CCRB is at CCRB_NYC. Other ways to file CCRB complaints include calling 311. You could also visit the CCRB at our headquarters at 100 Church Street in Lower Manhattan on the 10th floor. You can also file a complaint going on to the social media, on our social media. We have Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also you can also send a letter to the CCRB at 100 Church Street, New York, zip code 10007 on the 10th floor. You could also file complaints at a local police precinct. It does not have to be the precinct where the encounter may have taken place. Officers are required to accept CCRB complaints at any precinct. You could also request a complaint form and a self-addressed postage-free envelope. If you'd like to make a request for a CCRB outreach presentation, feel free to contact us via email at outreach@ccrb.nyc.gov. You can also follow the CCRB on our social media platforms, and that is Instagram, Twitter, or X, and Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you, Jahai. Do members of the board have any questions for Executive Director Darsh or Mr. Rose?
Mr. Darth, has there been any progress on the issue we discussed last month, the lack of appointments by the mayor and the city council?
I believe this afternoon, the city council had a hearing for a Staten Island appointee. I don't know if they're going to vote on it tomorrow, but I'm hopeful that Dr. Khalid will be rejoining the agency because he was actually a board member. He was a mayoral appointee. Forget for how long, but certainly when I first joined the agency, he was on the board. And then believe left in 2013. So I know there is progress being made on that front, and I'm hopeful it will move quicker because we need, as you mentioned last month, we need more board members.
Are there any other questions from members of the board?
Thank you, John.
I'll turn it over to Executive Director Darsh.
We're now going to enter the public comment portion of the meeting. We will begin with those joining us virtually who would like to make a comment, followed by those who are here in person. For those joining virtually, please use the raise your hand feature, and please keep your comments to 4 minutes. Yahira, would you please call on the first person?
Thank you, John. We'll first be hearing from Eric Dim, followed by Eric Gumansky.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Are you, Lieutenant?
Sure. I should make sure I'm coming clear. How you doing, sir? I'm Eric Dim. I was coined as the most complained cop at the NYPD in 2022. I'm now retired 2 years. I retired September 30th of 2022. In retirement, it's been my crusade to have changes to the Civilian Complaint Review Board. Of course, being coined as the most complained cop. I was a special operations lieutenant in the South Bronx doing intrusive police work, which led to the demise and the deterioration of my career. It's my opinion, and based on the preponderance of evidence, and the Civilian Complaint Review Board was overzealous in the attack on my career and also weaponized the disciplinary matrix. At this point, I'm the co-host of New York's Finest Retirement Filter podcast, where we give our opinion and criticism about police perspective and how politics has infected policing. At this point, it's definitely in my opinion that there are going to be other police officers or other members of the police department, despite rank, to supersede my record as the most complained cop. And now, I am not against having a Civilian Complaint Review Board. I think it's necessary. There are times where police officers need to be corrected and we need corrective discipline. However, I do hold an issue And I find it extremely problematic that the Civilian Complaint Review Board allows investigations to proceed without an actual complainant or by third party. Now, Arva Rice, the former acting chair, had testified to the city council that they do not take the totality of circumstances in both parties when they do in their investigation, and it's based on the information provided by the civilian complainant. Now, I do find that problematic. I think that it's polarizing to the actual justice system that we do have in place when it comes to criminal and civilian in nature. So I'm curious, how is the Civilian Complaint Review Board going to proceed forwards without any bias or prejudice towards an investigation based on a self-initiated complaint or a self-initiated investigation without an actual complainant? So at this time, I would just kindly ask if you could please indicate how it would be a fair investigation, and will that investigation played out and look at both sides of the coin and not just the perspective of the civilian complainant in that particular case. I also feel that it would be necessary for due process and fair to an actual case that the actual complainant testifies if there is an administrative trial, especially in light of the disciplinary matrix, where there are captions and caveats where a police officer or any rank can be terminated for their actions, considering there is now a three component to the disciplinary matrix, which is your presumptive, your assumpted penalties, also your aggravating factors and mitigating. And unfortunately, what I see from the police department is the only people that are caveat to actual mitigating factors is those that are in that circle of nepotism, which I think does equate to potential corruption. I see the Civilian Complaint Review Board did have a case with Madry, and unfortunately, we see that rank does sway the system and nepotism when it comes to civilian complaints. But ultimately, I like to see that the process is fair and that due process is played out, and that an investigation takes its course no matter where it leads, not just based on the information of the actual complainant. So I'm curious, how will a Civilian Complaint Review Board move forward to ensure that a self-initiated complaint based on body camera or other surveillance footage would be accurate, especially in light of the recent shooting in Brooklyn involving two police officers? I assume there will be an actual civilian complaint. Now, I do support those police officers. It's an ugly and unfortunate scene, but these police officers were put in a very precarious situation, faced with an armed adversary with a knife. So I thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Again, Eric Dim, retired lieutenant, New York's Finest Return Unfiltered Podcast. Thank you everyone.
So just to briefly respond, the CCRB looks at all the facts and evidence that we can determine when making recommendations to the board. And then the board looks at all the evidence that's presented to it, whether it's witness testimony or video evidence, when making determinations. And the things that we use as an agency to make those determinations are the law and the NYPD patrol guide. If the board does find misconduct occurred, it uses the NYPD's own discipline matrix to determine what is the level of appropriate discipline to give to recommend that the department impose on a member of service. And I think when you look at the statistics, where only a third of the fully investigated complaints in which the CCRB makes a determination that it is recommending discipline for officers. So if you look at the vast numbers of complaints that come in, very few result in discipline. And if the system were truly biased against members of the NYPD, those numbers would be different. Yaira, who's the next speaker?
We'll next be hearing from Eric Umansky.
Before we go to Mr. Umansky, as Ms. Simmons, would you care to introduce yourself?
Sure. Esmeralda Simmons. I'm the appointee of the public advocate. I live in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Now we can, Yahaira, the next.
Next, we'll be hearing from Eric Umansky.
Hey,
Mr. Romansky, we heard you there for a second.
Hi. What's that? Okay. Thanks for allowing me to ask a question. So I noticed in your latest data that the NYPD closed without review 118 out of 129 cases that the CCRB had sent the department to handle. That's 91% of cases. And this is because of this issue, which actually I wrote about recently, involving the department refusing to handle cases that, in their estimation, fall too close to a statute of limitations. How many, and I'm just wondering if you have this figure, what number or percentage of these cases were actually 60 days or more from the statute of limitation? That is a generous amount of time, relatively speaking, from the statute of limitations. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Romansky. Let me just, I know that I have that statistic. Let me just dig through my papers a little bit. So far in 2024, the department has closed 549 disciplinary matters without even looking at whether or not the member of service actually committed misconduct, after the board determined they had committed misconduct. In those, out of those 549, 336 of them were more than 60 days from the 18-month statute of limitations. In August, which you were referring to, the department only reviewed 9 non-charges disciplinary cases that they closed. One of those they duped, the others they disciplined the officers, but in 118 of other cases, they determined they were too close to the statute of limitations. You know, this is an issue that our data analysts are looking at, that we're not fully ready to make a report on conclusions, but just the raw data is available. And it would seem that the Department Advocate's Office of the NYPD might be able to review more than 8 disciplinary matters in the month of August. Whether or not they would have reached a determination that they were going to discipline officers is a different story, but they certainly, for all the attorneys at the Department Advocate's Office, might have been able to review more than 8.
John, could you please explain what duped means?
Thank you, Mr. Puma. It means the department is unable to prosecute a disciplinary matter. That is the department's language, and that's what they say. That is what they inform us when they tell us that they are not disciplining a member of service for discipline that the board has recommended.
Question, John. And this practice of not reviewing cases within that they get within 90 days of statute of limitations, in other words, unilaterally shortening the limitations period by 3 months. Have they given any explanation or justification as to what's the basis for the 90-day period?
Under a previous administration, there were conversations about what was the appropriate cutoff point. We never came to an agreement. This was a unilateral decision by the NYPD, and we've endeavored to close as many of our cases as early as possible, but it is just not feasible with the number of complaints that we're getting, where we're now back at 2012 levels of complaints for our investigations to close, especially when the board is recommending substantiation, to think that they're going to close routinely 12 months, 3 months before the statute of limitations.
But to follow up on Mr. Mansky's question, the difference between 60 days, 90 days, or 120 days, has there been any description of their process or their situation that leads to those being the threshold time distinctions?
So there's been descriptions of the process they go through, but they have, there's never been an effort for them to offer to change their process, right? Like their process is that the department advocate's office reviews a matter, then it goes to the first deputy commissioner's office, and then it goes to the police commissioner's office. That is not how discipline works for other command disciplines and lesser forms of training at the department. That's just for disciplinary matters that are referred by the CCRB. And so that process, when you hear me describe it, that is that's 3 sets of lawyers looking at the disciplinary matter. That's a lot of people, but there's been no offer on their end to change their process. They're just a demand that we get things done faster.
Just for the record, how many cases are members of this board reviewing and voting on a monthly basis? Or I can answer that if you want, because I'm doing it. I think it's 60 at this point, right? 60 a month. We're all.
It's at least 60, and some people it's even more.
Thanks.
Other questions?
Yahaira, I think we're ready for the next person.
That concludes the virtual public session portion.
Yahaira. For those joining us in person and interested in making a public comment, please line up behind the podium and please keep your comments to 4 minutes. The podium's right here, sir.
Good afternoon. I was listening to, I guess, what you're speaking and stuff. My name is Jamil Saxton. I'm from Harlem, New York City, Clark Atlanta University graduate. Have my own business and whatnot. And I had a little couple situation with police brutality, a little bit of issue that would need to be addressed to the civilian complaint board. And after speaking to one of your colleagues, I guess, or say colleague or whatever, it seems to me, and I'm sorry to say this, I'm trying to understand what the purpose of your company is. It seems that y'all do things because of, I guess, position. There's no fire in your way you speak about things. You know, as a Black man coming from the inner cities, growing up, I've seen a lot of injustice happen. And it hasn't happened to me. And I'm actually a valid person, I feel. I did everything I was supposed to do right. But to you, it seems like I spoke to one of your colleagues and said, well, we got to send a review up to the commissioner and whatnot. And that's it? You're lawyers. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it might be a Mandela effect or something. Because back in the day, we used to fight for justice. And it's not happening here. There's no firing you. I'm sorry. I have no faith in this. I have more faith in me going out there and doing it myself than doing my own justice than depending on you, because the police are not fair. And for that man to sit there and talk about how, and if you can't see it, then I don't even know why I even have this building here. You're downtown in the Wall Street district next to the World Trade Center, and you have not done nothing. I don't know what to even say about this. You know, and I don't believe there's racism anymore. I think it's more prejudice because some of your own people could be racist against your own people. Some cops who are my skin color would treat me wrong. So I can't sit there and say it's a white or black thing. You be a fool if you are. But that's what they want to tell you, to keep you stupid, keep you sidelined. So my question to you is this. What is your purpose? What are you going to do this going forward? And do we have faith in you to do what you have, do something about it? You're a lawyer, for God's sakes. Your legal system. I'm done.
Simmons? Thank you. This is Baxter, right? You can go back up there. Excuse me. Let's do Mr. Ryan. First of all, thank you for speaking. Secondly, if you had to do the work that we do, which is minimum of 50 cases a month.
I understand.
No, just listen here. You're outraged. You make your decision. You send it back to the organization. You're not paid. I'll put like, what is it, 5 cents to the dollar? Let me be honest. I think we get 5 cents to the dollar. We send it. We do it right. Investigators are working on these cases. Can you imagine all this staff? Everybody's churning. But so far, the city and the state has not seen fit to give us the power to make the final decision. We do all this work and then it gets handed over to NYPD, and you just heard the stats.
I know, and that's
No,
sad.
yeah,
Sorry.
So understand, and they keep giving us more power to investigate, expanding our investigative powers, but it goes to one police plaza and one drop here, one drop there, out of a vast gallon of cases. We're frustrated. We want to have the adjudicatory power to make the final decision. It hasn't been given to us. This is as far as the society will let it go. For all of this work to be done to show that people have a problem with some of the acts of some of the officers. I mean, this is the largest police force in the country.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're frustrated too. What we're not supposed to do is put on an angry face, scream out against NYPD, let every person that thinks that they've been violated think that they're gonna, win, because you'd be very surprised at the powers that the police have, and particularly in making an arrest. You'd be very surprised of what they can do legally. So all I can say is we may not show it because we're supposed to be up here calm and impartial. We wouldn't be doing all of this if we didn't care.
Can I say something, please?
Please.
Let me reply, please. Well, I understand that. I believe that you're severely overworked. But the question is this. There's always a proverb that says you do something over and over again. The definition says he's doing something over and over the same way over time. But clearly you've been doing it over and over the same time. And the fact of the matter is, as me, like you got to start using something called networking. I think you're familiar with, where you could reach out to people like myself who's young in the community, who has an influence. If you sit down and talk to the people that's in the community and do an olive branch and say, here, we're here for you. You could do things with numbers. You could do one finger doesn't break a wall, but if you put a fist, you might have a chance. So understand that and take that forward and use that as a premise to go out there and get at these police officers and let them make a change. Because right now, we look at the situation right now. You got Mayor Al with the whole legal situation, whatever. He's looking for help. So use it. It's called politics. You're running. Listen, I don't even do politics. I know how to get around. So I suggest you, shoot, take them for a drink or something. Have a conversation. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying dinner or something. It gotta be something that could be an like a break. Or some bottle of champagne or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, just do something. Shake it up. Because it's becoming stagnant and it's becoming repetitive. And you're sitting there like, oh. You got time for that. You know, I mean, I love New York. I'm gonna go back to Atlanta though, because that ain't no better. But this is some nonsense, man. It's like it's on fire. You should look at yourself about that. I look at myself every day. I'm very self-reflective. But thank you for hearing me. I mean, I came here today because I had a little issue. It ain't got resolved. I came here. Sorry.
But do you have an issue that we could help with? Like, have you spoken to an investigator?
Yeah, but it's like, all right, I can tell you my situation. This is what happened to me.
But it's just like telling me now
Yeah.
doesn't do
Oh.
good. You have to. Like,
I talked to them. It's pointless though. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Well, what? So if you will wait, I will talk to you after.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Myers.
I'm Michael Myers, President, New York Civil Rights Coalition. I concur with your anger, your frustration, and your dissing the processes here. The processes here stink. I don't care how many people you've had on this board. I've seen this board when it's full. When it's full, they can't get anything done. That's decent and respectable and effective and responsible and believable. So now you're going down. So many people are missing here. And I looked up on the website to see if the mayor has made his appointments yet for your vacancies, to see if your city council speaker has made her appointments for vacancies. I don't see any appointments to the vacancies. So somebody like the mayor and the city council speaker for several months now knew there's going to be vacancies on this board, but they don't care. There's no sense of urgency to fill this board with responsible people who will investigate and seek punishment for misconduct, police misconduct. So I am not pleased, and I don't believe anything anymore about the people here say about we do the best we can, we work so hard, we're overworked, we don't get much money. You're not supposed to get any money. It's public service. You're not supposed to get paid for your work. If you can't take the job without pay, get off the board. I'm sick of this. Now look, I can't tell you how long I was coming here to praise you guys because I took a different train this time, subway train, to get here, and I got lost. I asked no fewer than 4 or 5 police officers how to get here. Everybody gave me different directions. Either that's praise for you guys, or it's a rebuke of you guys. Every police officer in this city should know where you are, where this office is, and how to direct citizens to you when we have a complaint. Or if we don't even have a complaint, the police officer should have in their hand directions to this place. They should have your name and memorize your telephone number. But that's not happening. You know why? Because they don't care. And apparently, this board has become not only ineffective, but dysfunctional. So finally, I know my time is running out, if it hasn't run out already. I know you're not going to give me more time. But I have to say one more time, what is going on with this mayor? What in the hell is going on with the city? I give up on the mayor. He doesn't believe in police review. The city council speaker, what's going on here? I looked up to see if she acted on any of your proposals for filling vacancies. She had a lot to say about land use, but not police abuse. What the hell is going on? This is a city council speaker who's independent of the mayor, independent of you. But she can't even make appointments to this board on behalf of the public, on behalf of the people. I understand why the mayor, is that what he is? I know why he hasn't appointed anybody, because he doesn't care. He doesn't believe in police review. He likes the police commissioners. He pats them on the back. He has dinner and lunches and with people who agree with him, even if it's in all the way across the ocean, on our dime. And nobody complains. Nobody said, maybe there's one article in the newspaper. This is scandalous. This is scandalous, but nobody is saying it. The guy has got to get the hell out. He's not going to resign, you know why? Because he has no place to go. Nobody's going to give him a job. So he has his money, he has his cars, he has police protection. He can go anywhere in the city with his head up, despite the criminal indictments. This is so disgusting. So I call upon you, and I second your emotion. Somebody's got to get angry. I'm tired of coming here yelling and screaming and hollering at you, because I know you're part of the problem, but you're not the problem. The problem is the city council. The problem is the mayor. The problem is the people who appoint you to come here, and the police commissioner and all his deputies who are now gone, and the ones who replaced them, slowing down the process and ignoring your recommendations, or taking issue with your recommendations, and doing nothing about police misconduct. That's what's happening in this city. It is so shocking. It is so irresponsible. I call upon the mayor again, get the hell out. And the city council speaker, if you can't make your appointments, get the hell out.
Hello to the CCRB board, to the distinguished staff and guests and community. My name is Mari Moss. I just came up here to say thank you to the CCRB and especially the outreach team, Tim, for being at the Chase Bank Domestic Violence Forum hosted by We Love Harlem Initiative in Harlem this past Saturday. Esteemed guests such as the NYPD First Deputy Commissioner, Tanya Kinsella was there, along with the State Senator Cordell Clear, Manhattan Deputy Borough President Keisha Sutton James, District Leader William Smith, Billy Council, Stephanie McGraw from Warm, Community was there, UFT was there, SBS was there, and thanks to Rocky Chowardy. Tomorrow, I wanted to invite all of the community to come out to a Supreme Court tour with the Honorable Frank Perry set for 10:10, which is tomorrow at 10, so 10 a.m. And it's going to be at 60 Center Street, and we would love for you to be there. Thank you.
So, can you tell us your name?
First name, Vera.
Did you say it was Vera?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Vera.
I very much agree with the two gentlemen that spoke, this gentleman and the gentleman over there. My heart goes out to them, even though I'm a white woman, but I found myself in a situation where I was mistreated by police. And for anyone who's taking notes, I want to dispel the myth that you have to be, you have to be black or you have to be of a certain color to be faced with bias, mistreatment, and all kinds of other things. To this lady over here, to sound back to what you were saying to one of the gentlemen here, you were saying that you're very frustrated too, but I don't think you can put yourself on our level because your frustration is not the same as ours. We're both frustrated, but you have not dealt with the trauma that is very long lasting, very well. Have you been arrested for something you didn't do? Have you been treated like a criminal by a police officer who is not supposed to be a member of the judicial branch of the government? It's okay, you don't have to answer, but no, it's okay. I just think that our frustration is double that. that it's okay. Well, I was treated by an NYPD officer as a criminal without any evidence. And B, I was treated like I was not a human. Not only that, not only her, it did not end with her personal treatment of me, but she proceeded to impose her very weighty opinion because other members of the public and different professions very much listen to police. She proceeded to impose her opinions on other professionals that were involved, other people. When I tried to bring up this particular point with CCRB and IAB, I was pretty much told that there isn't a category for that. You know, treating a person like a criminal, acting like a judge, calling in various names because they were not swear words. You know, so I wonder why isn't there a special category for things like that? Because I was sort of left hanging. I was abused. I was abused verbally by her, and there's nothing that can be done because this is not considered an offense.
Here, first, I'm sorry you had that experience. Second, have you actually filed a complaint with?
Yes,
the
I have,
agency?
of course.
So if you could wait until the end and I could talk to you and get the complaint number from you, and then I'll explain to you the process if you would like the complaint reopened. But
My complaint was
Because-
closed due to mayor's budget cuts.
Okay,
So, hi, Mayor. Thank you
so
for your cuts.
if what you were saying is that you were treated discourteously, that is what I'm hearing. And that was something that should not be closed because of the budget cut. So if you and I talk at the end of the meeting, I will get the necessary information. We can reopen your complaint.
Also, one more thing that I found out after I was dealing with the aftermath is that the lawyers, for the most part, do not take cases against police. The Free City lawyers, they are very careful. They discourage people from going against police, and they pretty much wash their hands off of anyone who says even even something slightly, negative about police. That's Free City lawyers. When it comes to private lawyers, most of them do not like to take cases against police unless there is.
So ma'am, our agency does not,
It's okay.
we won't represent you in a
No,
lawsuit.
I understand.
But we will investigate the incident.
I understand. I'm just mentioning that as part of my frustration because because the law. Because the police officer that treated me that way, she's still employed. She will still be employed even if my CCRB complaint is found substantiated. She will continue to advance her professional ladder. Nothing will happen to her. And yeah, so these are my frustrations. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sirs. My name is Adieko. Adweko. I made a complaint in the month of July. Regarding harassment from an individual, and I called the police. I called 911. They didn't come. They spoke with me and said they are coming, and I didn't see them for 2 hours. So after the complaint, the person of building evacuated me from the apartment, that the apartment is perilous to life. So, and I'll go back to same precinct to get a police report. Unfortunately, an officer said, you don't need a police report. I can't give you a police report. I said, why? I did a police report, at least. So, I mean, for a record purpose, one, and to pursue my case. I said, no, even though if I give you the report, you cannot win the case. I was there for a couple of 2 hours. Nothing was achieved. I don't hate police. I offer to join auxiliary police. But unfortunately, I had a cardiac condition, so I could not go for the training. But the disappointment you give to a vulnerable person is uncalled for. Supposing that day, something has happened. Let's say worse thing happened. Then, who will now come out to testify? My point is, I pledge to protect. It's not, I don't see it work. Police out there should support the community. Without the community, they can't get a good job done. You have to give respect to the people of the community. I got there. Sometimes their character alone will discourage you. Why am I here? And there are people, how they're suffering. They are in fear to come out to say, hey, help me. They can't because they know that they can't get anything done.
Thank you, Adiko, for sharing that with us. I think it highlights a hole in our jurisdiction in that failure to act is sometimes just as onerous to a civilian as an action taken by an officer, and it's not something that our agencies effectively, we don't look at those types of cases. If you would be willing to sit and speak to one of our investigators just so we could get the information, and even if we can't help you, we'll refer it to the people who should be able to help you. If you could do that, I would appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Puma? No.
Now that we break into executive session, the agenda for executive session is the board will consider one full board case. The executive director will discuss pending personnel actions, and the general counsel will provide updates regarding pending litigation. Is there a motion to adjourn to executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Do I have a second? There's a second. Great. So moved. This meeting is now adjourned to executive session.